Good morning, everybody. It is now 10 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Um, Welcome to the fourth annual Riverside County Recycles Community Summit. I'd like to start off by introducing myself and my department. My name is Sylvia Ferrer, and I'm a recycling specialist too here with the Riverside County Department of Waste Resources, or RC Waste. Our department is responsible for the efficient and effective landfilling of non-hazardous county waste. Simply put, we're not the garbage people that take away your trash, but we are the facility that ends up with your trash. The department operates more than half a dozen active landfills, and that is made capable by a team that is spread out from Corona to Indio. Apart from myself, my fellow recycling specialists, and our volunteer coordinators, our department has planning, internal support, accounting, and gate fee staff, safety monitors, hazardous waste inspectors, fleet services, operations, and engineering sections that keep us going. And today we'll be hearing from our principal engineer about the efforts behind responsible waste management at our landfills. This year, our theme is Community Action for a Sustainable Future, and to kick things off, I'd love to start by highlighting three keywords that'll set the tone for the rest of our event. At the center of any change is community, the residents and organizations that drive change. While we might be often overlooked next to counties like San Diego or Los Angeles, Riverside County has a strong, diverse, and driven community with community members that are invested in fostering environmental consciousness. Today, we have six amazing presenters from the education, nonprofit, and environmental justice sections that are committed to our mission to manage waste for a better tomorrow. We'll be hearing about how each of their organizations impact change and what we can do to support their efforts. But guess what? You're taking action right now. Waking up early is hard, and you're taking precious hours of your weekend to learn what you can do to transform your community into a beacon of sustainability. The first step to taking action is to become better informed, which is why RC Waste put together this virtual conference. In addition, we offer free classes multiple times a year about a range of sustainability topics from Recycling 123, which is a deep dive into what all those pesky numbers on your plastic containers mean, to Intro to Climate Change if you're interested in knowing the science behind our rapidly changing weather. If you're more of a hands-on person, we do also offer an in-person backyard composting and vermicomposting class where instructors with decades of experience can show you how to turn your food waste into compost, a super nutrient for plants. This year actually marked 30 years of our backyard composting program, which has expanded recently to include not only our in-person classes, but also a 4-week-long course for those that are looking to deepen their understanding of the composting process right here at our headquarters office in Moreno Valley. And we also have a self-paced virtual version, and that has received international interest. This unique resource is the longest running composting program in California, so I highly encourage everybody to take advantage of it. Now we look towards the future. Here are a few key legislative items that may affect you as we head into 2024. Oh, there's some issues with audio. Could everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, we're good.
So maybe bump up your volume. But to get back to it, SB 1383 is California's short-lived climate pollutant reduction strategy, which mandates that all residents and businesses in California start to recycle their organic waste. Your waste haulers, aka CRNR, WMI, or BirdTech, to name a few, should be rolling out more information regarding their programs as time goes on. And just a suggestion, if you don't want to just throw away your food waste, you can join our composting classes, and that'll help you a lot if you're looking to actually utilize your food waste in your home. Starting 2024, the California Bottle Bill program will expand to include not just bottles and cans, but hard liquor and wine bottles. You'll be charged a California redemption value of 25 cents, and that you'll get back once you recycle your bottles. Lastly, we have SB 244, which would require manufacturers of electronics like computers and phones to provide replacement parts and service manuals to consumers and third-party repair businesses in an attempt to reduce the amount of electronics that enter our waste stream. While that is just the tip of the legislative iceberg, there's no need to get overwhelmed because we're here to help, and so are our amazing speakers. Besides our free courses, we also offer a variety of free resources. Our department offers free services to Riverside County schools to assist in compliance with state recycling regulations, and that includes the donation of blue recycling bins and other recycling tools that will help you collect bottles and cans. And today we'll actually be hearing from one of our success stories, Ms. Wilbur. One of our presenters will be talking about her experience using her bins. And if you have a school garden, we also have a program where we donate one vermicomposting or composting bin a year to arm your classroom with the information necessary to compost and utilize your bin to the maximum potential. And from March to October, our department hosts landfill tours, and we can modify our information to fit your needs. Whether you have middle school kids or a group of seniors, we're going to find a waste tidbit that you've never heard before. And if you're unable to come to us, we can come to you. For groups of 15 or more, we can visit a location of your choosing, as long, of course, as it's within Riverside County bounds, to present on any of our sustainability topics. And then finally, I wanted to mention our illegal dumping and hazardous waste collection program. Our illegal dumping mop-up and cleanup team, or IMPACT, services all county roads to ensure that illegally dumped waste, like tires, mattresses, or other trash, is disposed of properly. As you can see there are some of the highlights of this past year. If instead of dumping your trash on the road, you're just hoarding all your hard to dispose of waste, like batteries, paint, or car oil, we do regularly host collection events at permanent and temporary facilities that'll make it easy for you to drop off your items, all for free. Information on both is going to be linked in the chat, but there are the websites just in case you want to visit those instead. And this is a lot of information, but I hope you'll spread your new knowledge of these money-saving and eco-friendly programs with neighbors, friends, and family. And if you're not sick of us yet, please consider joining our volunteer program. There's the information on there if you're interested, or following us and sharing our posts on social media, because a lot of this information does travel through word of mouth. And lastly, I would like to note that we've gotten our name because we don't just manage waste. We look at it as a resource, and our aim is that by the end of this conference, you will look at it the same way as well. Now, I want to introduce Janet Moreland, our supervising recycling specialist, and Lisette Ochoa, our recycling specialist too, which are going to help moderate the rest of our conference. And if you're here because you heard about our prize drawing, please make sure you stay until the end, because we will be spinning the wheel and we'll be communicating with the winners at the end. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our principal engineer, Todd Shabata. Todd is responsible for air and water quality, environmental engineering infrastructure, and projects for the department. Mike, are you able to pull up Todd's card on the screen? Todd has been with the department since 2007, and he's a California registered civil engineer. He has over 25 years of experience in civil and environmental engineering, and he receives his Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from UC Irvine, and he currently resides in Corona. In his free time, he likes to snowboard whenever we get any snow. And just to know, if you have any questions for Todd or I about any of our programs, please enter them in the chat, and we'll have a joint Q&A session after his presentation. But you can go ahead and share your screen now, Todd, and I'll hand it over to you.
All right, I'm trying to share my screen. Let's see. Is my screen, okay, is that not perfect? All right. Okay, so good morning, Sylvia. Thank you for the introduction and just the chance to share a little bit more about our department with you all this morning. So again, my name is Todd Shabata. I am an engineer, environmental engineer with our department. I've been with the department over 15 years, and it's been a pleasure working here. So as Sylvia has mentioned, our department's motto is managing waste for a better tomorrow. The core function of our department is the efficient and effective landfilling of non-hazardous county waste, and environmental engineering plays an important role in that efficient and effective landfilling operation. When applied correctly, the county waste is managed safely for the public today, but also for tomorrow. County waste will leave a legacy for future generations, and we're trying to manage this waste as a resource and not simply as trash. So the department applies environmental engineering to our landfills in a few different ways. It's through permitting, design, operation, maintenance, corrective action, and closure. And this morning, I'm just going to limit my presentation just to a few of those aspects. And so I'll talk a little bit about landfills, a little bit about permitting and design, some of our air quality systems, and some of our water quality systems. So first off, an introduction to landfills. Um, so I guess the first question is, where does our waste go? So when you place your curbside waste container outside your home, or when your waste is placed in a dumpster at your apartment complex or a condo, where does your waste end up? And most people don't give this much thought. It's kind of like clockwork. We can easily, readily, and quickly just get rid of anything that we don't want anymore. Um, and the convenience and ease doesn't go unnoticed by everyone, though. So I actually have a good friend who really appreciates this. He told me that actually that trash day, as he calls it, is almost one of his favorite days of the week. Um, it's so easy. He looks forward to it because anything and everything that he doesn't want anymore, he places in that curbside waste container and poof, it's gone. It's gone forever from him, and it's kind of like magic to him. He doesn't have to see it anymore. He doesn't have to think about it. It just simply vanishes from his home. Um, I think the truth is, though, that that waste, while it's gone from him, right, it is not gone forever. And my friend's view is a little bit simplistic, um, but a lot of that is due to our modern waste management system, right? It is a clean, easy, efficient system that allows our waste to leave our hand and really not worry about it and kind of forget about it forever. And so we don't live with the impact of our waste isn't something that we have to think about or deal with day to day. So if you see the picture on the left, that is actually one of our county landfills. It's a modern landfill. And there you see kind of a large pile of waste and transfer trucks that have dropped off that waste. Um, the picture on the right, obviously, is a situation where there is not modern infrastructure, right? There is not a modern waste management system. And so there's a picture that I just found of a third world country where, the waste is just disposed anywhere, really anywhere and everywhere. And in a situation like this, right, our waste is mixed with our waters. It's next to buildings, it's in the middle of a street. It just becomes an unavoidable part of your life. Um, you're not only living with your waste, but you're living with the waste of your neighbors, your community. It's just all around you, unfortunately. So thankfully, that's not the case for us. So how much waste do we actually generate and how much ends up in our landfills? So this graphic is from 2019 and it shows the waste that's generated that was landfilled in California and that also what was landfilled in Riverside County. So over 40 million tons of waste was landfilled in California, and then about 2.5 million tons of waste were landfilled in Riverside County. And that sounds like a lot, but in visual terms, let's take a look at this. So this is a 10-yard dumpster. This might be something that you kind of see around on the streets. And this is approximately holds about 1 ton of waste. Um, and so in this case, we would have for Riverside County, 2.5 million of these dumpsters were disposed of in 2019. And so again, even more visual, a line of these dumpsters would be 9,500 miles long. And so that would roughly stretch from California to New York, back to California, and then out to Moab, Utah. And so if you think about that, right, obviously that is a lot of waste that we're dealing with here in the county. Um, it ends up being quite a big job. And so landfills, right? Let's talk a little bit about landfills. The county operates an integrated waste management system. Sylvia did a good job talking about some of those other components of our waste management system. We have illegal dumping, we have household hazardous waste collection, we have recycling efforts and composting, all these different things that we are trying to best manage our waste. Landfills are a key component of that system, and it is probably the largest thing that our department does. And so what are landfills? By definition, landfills are they're discrete areas of land that receive household waste. So modern landfills like those of our department are well engineered and managed facilities primarily for the disposal of non-hazardous solid waste. They include environmental engineering design to protect the environment from contaminants that are present in the waste. And so modern landfills undergo a rigorous and lengthy permitting and design process. There are federal, state, and local regulations and agencies that are part of this process. The department also makes use of specialty consultants that have specialized expertise in things like traffic or biology during this process. And so the main permit that allows a landfill to operate is the solid waste facility permit. It's a permit that's issued by the state. And I won't go through all this in detail. There are a number of steps that are required in order to receive this permit, and this is a lengthy process. On this slide, I do want to mention that the public is invited to participate in the permitting process. This is a requirement of the process, and the department notifies the public and when we're applying for or modifying our permits. And when we receive public comments, we consider those, respond to those comments as appropriate. On this, oh yeah, on this part of the slide. And then as we continue, there's still more steps in the solid waste facility permitting process. The last few steps kind of highlight that the department has to have a formal plan to close our landfills, and we also have to have the financial means to do so. So the state makes sure that you're not just going to open a landfill and basically leave it there. We have to manage it for at least 30 years, but it can be longer than that. The department has two main active landfills, and that is the Badlands landfill. It's located on the east end of Moreno Valley, and that one is permitted through 2059. And then we also have the Lamb Canyon landfill that's located south of Beaumont, and that's permitted through 2032. So this diagram here shows, it's a little bit of a schematic of what a modern landfill is composed of and what it looks like. A lot of the environmental systems that are part of this landfill are shown here. The one thing I did want to highlight here is the liner system. So that's on the bottom left of that diagram. And so all of our major active landfills have liners like this. This liner system is often referred to as a subtitle D or a composite liner. And it's composed of a low permeability clay layer at the bottom and followed by a high density polyethylene liner on top. And that's a thick layer of plastic that is welded together along the bottom and the sides of the landfill. And then on top of that plastic liner is a drainage layer, and this allows liquids to drain and be removed from the landfill. So you can think of a landfill like a below grade swimming pool. So soil is excavated and removed to create a hole or depression in the ground. And then in a swimming pool's case, it's lined. It's lined with concrete or gunite to keep everything inside, right? And for a landfill, that lining system is the composite liner system. So here's a few photos of construction of actual construction at our landfills. So if you look at the photo on the left, all that black, the black part of the photo, that is the liner. So that is the liner that's being laid at the bottom of the excavation, and the rock that you see, that's gravel that's being placed on top of that liner, and that's the drainage layer. If you look at the center photo, it's still a landfill construction, and you see soil at the bottom of the excavation. That soil actually is on top now of the drainage layer, and this area of the landfill is now ready to receive waste. And then you see the black areas of the landfill that actually that continues to be a lined portion. You can't place soil on slopes that are that steep, so that's why we don't have soil on there. And if you look on the right photo, again, this is landfill that was recently constructed, and you can see waste in the kind of back center portion of that photo. It's actually being placed on top of the soil, and so that's an active landfill operation occurring. So we'll move on to some air quality systems. So beyond the liners, right? The liners are supposed to keep the waste and the waste byproducts within the confines of the landfill. We have other environmental engineering systems that the department utilizes to protect both air quality and water quality. And so first I'll review some of the air quality systems that we have in place at the departments. Not only our active landfills, but we also have 13 closed or inactive landfills that this occurs on. And this photo here is a photo of one of the gas collection systems at one of our landfills being constructed. So as waste decomposes in a landfill, it generates methane. Right? Methane is an explosive and flammable gas, and it is also a greenhouse gas. CO2 is the most prevalent greenhouse gas, but methane is more efficient in trapping radiation than CO2, approximately 28% more efficient. So in that case, it's a more dangerous greenhouse gas. So the department collects and controls methane emissions from our landfills. The department has wells throughout our landfills that we utilize to extract landfill gas, which includes methane, from the waste that is landfilled. Waste can decompose and generate methane for as long as 50 years. And the photos above show landfill gas well construction. In this case, we're installing a vertical well. So a vertical hole is being excavated in the waste, and then the well casing is being installed. So methane is extracted from the waste through a series of wells and piping, and it's collected at one central location. It's kind of like a house with a central air conditioning, but in reverse. Each room of the house, right, is connected to a central blower through a series of ducts or pipes. And the blower is turned on and cold air is dispersed throughout a house. So a landfill gas collection system is the same thing, but kind of in reverse. So instead of pushing air right into a room, the gas collection vacuums air from each room. In our case, it vacuums methane gas from each section of the landfill where a well exists. The gas collection, and then it's collected in a central location and then it's burned. So the department operates and maintains over 675 actually gas wells at our landfills. The department also monitors air quality below the surface of a land or surrounding the landfill and then on the surface of the landfill. And this is to ensure that landfill gas is not migrating. The photo on the left is just kind of a typical probe, what you might find one of the locations where we would monitor migrating landfill gas. And it's just a nondescript above ground metal vault. The bottom photo shows what the top of a monitoring probe looks like, and these are small valves that are connected to piping that extends below the ground surface. They can be as deep as or shallow as 5 feet, and then as deep as hundreds of feet. And then the other photo is one of our technicians. He has a piece of monitor equipment. It's hooked up to a probe, and he's measuring below grade concentrations of air quality. So in addition to air quality, we monitor water quality and we protect water quality. And there are kind of four principal liquids or waters that we manage. The first is we have leachate and gas condensate, we have stormwater, and then we have groundwater. And so leachate is composed of all the liquid in a landfill. It's composed of liquid that is part of the solid waste, and then water that enters the landfill that is not part of the waste that is landfilled. So you can think of leachate like just a mixture of every kind of liquid in the landfill. So that could be residual milk and simple green and shampoo and cooking oil and stormwater. Really, all liquids that enter the landfill then become leachate. So gas condensate is actually exactly as it sounds. It's when landfill gas is extracted from the landfill, and when it cools, it forms condensate, and that also is something that the department collects and manages. The photo on the left is just these large holding tanks, basically, where we have leachate and gas condensate. The leachate that we're extracting from the landfill or that's draining from the landfill, and gas condensate that's forming from our landfill gas operations. And the photo on the right is a department stormwater detention basin. So the department designs the landfill sites to convey stormwater through slopes and channels and drains. In addition, the department installs and constructs a series of best management practices to improve the quality of stormwater before it is discharged from our sites. And the stormwater detention basin like this is just one of those typical best management practices that we utilize. The kind of the largest probably undertaking for us is groundwater monitoring as it relates to water quality. And this is just a simple schematic of what a groundwater well looks like. The department regularly monitors approximately 190 groundwater monitoring wells at our landfills each year. Some of our groundwater wells are as deep as over 1,000 feet out in the desert area. That's where we have a few of those wells. The department monitors water quality in wells to assess whether landfill waste are having a negative effect on groundwater quality. And when they do so, then we employ some corrective action actually to mitigate that situation. And these photos show groundwater well construction. It's kind of some typical construction where we drill a deep hole, we install this, in this case, a PVC casing into that hole, and then we surround that PVC casing with filter material first to filter the groundwater. And then above that, it would be low permeability layers to prevent water from getting into the well. And then And the photo on the left is top left. It just shows what a typical groundwater monitoring well looks like. Again, kind of nondescript, just this metal casing sticking out of the ground with a little top hat on top. The photo on the right shows actually what the top of a well might look like. So it's that PVC casing. And then on the top of that is a lid, that gray lid. And there sticking out through that lid are sample ports. And those are parts of the groundwater pump sampling system that we would utilize to collect the water or the groundwater. And the photo on the bottom left is kind of a typical photo of someone collecting a water sample. Um, from a groundwater well into a glass vial. So those are the glass vials that we would collect, and then we would send those off to our state certified laboratory that would analyze water quality for us. So during a typical year, the department collects over 600 groundwater samples for water quality analysis. And so that's it for me. So I thank you for the chance to just share a little bit about some of the environmental engineering that is occurring at the department. It's really easy to generate waste, but to properly manage and dispose of waste takes a really big team of people. And so our group is just one part of that team that is trying to manage the waste of Riverside County for a better tomorrow. So thank you very much.
All
I
right,
did
thank you.
notice I
Yes.
did notice one question I saw. So I don't know if there are more, but I see this one that's right up here. And so what do you do with the collected leachate? So the leachate that we have, um, there are two different things that we do. Sometimes the leachate is actually burned off. When the landfill gas is burned off, it is atomized or put into a very fine spray and burned off. And then other times we actually recirculate it through the landfill. So we put it back into the landfill and we use it when waste is being disposed.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd and Sylvia, for that amazing intro and explanation about our landfill management. Similar to that question, which energy source is more commonly used for landfill facilities, solar or landfill gas? Can you explain a little bit more about our energy sources at the landfill?
Yeah, so we actually don't. Our operations are pretty. They're not very energy intensive in terms of needing electricity. Um, we have small facilities out there where we host some personnel, but most of the landfill operations occur with heavy equipment, and so while California is transitioning its heavy equipment fleets over to electric fleets, we haven't done so yet, and so we don't. Yeah, we're not very energy intensive. But then specifically to answer your question, we don't have any solar actually at any of our active landfills. One of our closed landfills actually has a solar field on top of it that is kind of managed and operated by a third party. And then our landfill gas in past, we have been able to convert that landfill gas into electricity. We've done away with that. That system was done away with a while ago, but we're actually looking to do that again at both of our active sites and a number of our closed sites. So that's something we're hoping to do in the very near future.
Awesome. We do have just a minute for one last question, but can you explain some of the different job opportunities available at the landfill or at some of the headquarters office for the
Sure,
department?
sure. We have, yeah, I mean, um, there are technical trade type jobs, and so there are a number of like technicians that would work for me, and so they're responsible for maintaining equipment, landfill gas equipment, and doing a lot of that monitoring. We have a number of engineers both on the environmental side, but also in the engineering and operations side that are doing design. As we said, our department's kind of multifaceted and full service. So there's accounting jobs and administration jobs. There are traffic direction people. There are people that actually inspect the waste for hazardous materials. So yeah, there are a variety of jobs that are available with yeah, all different kinds of backgrounds and skills and experience.
And I'll chime in to say that the recycling section is actually hiring for a student intern right now. So if there are any students in the presentation, please apply. It is a paid internship, and you'll be able to work with us. Awesome. Thank you, Todd and Sylvia again. That wraps up our quick introduction on RC waste. Next, we'll get started on our first workshop. Kicking off our environmental justice track, Community Champions, Nonprofits Leading Sustainable Change, is Joanna Ramos, Program Director at the nonprofit Inland Empire Waterkeeper. She has been working at IE Waterkeeper for 3 years and began her role as Program Director in October 2023. Her hometown is Fontana, and she received her degrees in environmental science and policy and educational sciences from UC Irvine. A fun fact about Joanna is that she loves basketball and has played since 8th grade. She even played in UCI's club basketball team. Please welcome Joanna. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat. We'll address them in a joint Q&A session at the end of our 2 presentations. All right, take it away, Joanna.
Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. Okay, I'm going to start
Sounds
sharing
good.
my screen. Great. Okay. Okay, so hopefully everybody could see my screen. Can I get a thumbs up really quick? Perfect. Great. So, hi everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Joanna. I'm from the Inland Empire Waterkeeper. Just to give you guys a little bit of background of who we are, we're an environmental nonprofit. We're based in Riverside, but we actually work with Riverside and San Bernardino counties. So, our mission is actually to achieve a sustainable watershed free of pollution and a community of motivated water stewards to ensure swimmable, drinkable, fishable waters within the Upper Santa Ana River watershed. And that's just basically a big sentence for saying that we think that everybody in the IE should have access to clean water. So our nonprofit basically focuses on water advocacy and the protection of the Santa Ana River. We do that through programs of advocacy, research, and enforcement. So we work with other partners around the Inland Empire, and we basically work together for clean water. Our areas of focus are water-related permits and policy, public access to the river and other creeks, and we do some stormwater monitoring. So if people are, polluting into there or somewhere. Discharging into the river, we kind of take litigation action to enforce the Clean Water Act. Cool. We also have a really big education program called River Cats. It starts for kids activism through science. We know that the IE is unfortunately victims of a lot of environmental justice issues, and we don't really think about it, but water is actually something that we're affected by, right? So we believe that through education, we could create youth that is empowered and hopefully want to protect their local environment. We do that through workshops. So we go out to different schools, different clubs, and we basically do environmental education programs. And we actually pay for their field trips. And so we pay for their buses, their substitute teachers. And we take them to different areas throughout the watershed. It could be up there by the forest, to different wetlands throughout the IE, and even some to the beach, which is fun. Some of the students, that's their first time they actually get to go to the beach. And we're very happy to do that. Last school year, we actually worked with over 600 students, over 11 schools, and more than 20 teachers. And then for this coming school year, we hope to work we're predicting 700 students, we're shooting high. But yeah, we're continuing to create new partnerships and create new curriculum to make sure that the IE youth is getting that environmental education they deserve and are able to experience new things. But yeah, we also have a restoration program. It's called From Crest to Coast. So this is actually when we go down to the river and we do cleanups. So we do cleanups every third Saturday of the month, the next one being December 16th. We had to plug that in there. But yeah, these are just some pictures from our recent cleanup. We had a lot of volunteers. We pulled out, as you guys can see, there was 7 shopping carts in the river. These are some more pictures of the stuff that we pull out. And even though we do these cleanups monthly, there's always more trash. So if you all ever want to help us on our journey to clean up the Santa Ana River, we're there every third Saturday of the month. I'm Martha McLean. And I know everybody has heard me talk about a watershed. So what is actually a watershed, right? So a watershed is basically an area of land that drains water. So up here in the mountains, we could pretend that that's Big Bear Lake. So I don't know how many of us have been at Big Bear, but it's actually really close to us, right? Only about like an hour and a half. So our watershed starts up at Big Bear and it goes through, it's goes through different areas of the IE, areas of OC, and areas of LA County. But our river, the Santa Ana River, actually drains to the ocean. So all of our actions here in the IE have a really big impact on the ocean, and we don't really think about that sometimes. Just to give everybody a solid definition on what watershed is, it's basically an area of land that drains water and other materials to one outlet. Those other materials, just to preface, is going to be like trash, right? So yeah, it stores water, but it also moves water, and it ends up draining to Huntington Beach. A watershed is affected by natural systems, so the climate affects it. Geomorphology, that's just a big word for the mountains. That's basically what creates the boundary of our watershed. And then the hydrologic cycle, which is just the water cycle. The more rain there is, the more water is actually going to be stored and drained out of our watershed. But also, a watershed is affected by human systems. So where we live, where we work, and where we play, those houses right there, they weren't always there, right? Unfortunately, the beach is a very beautiful place to live in. So we kind of knocked down how naturally the river would reach the ocean. And now, unfortunately, most of the Santa Ana River is channelized because of that. And whenever we go out and visit the beach, we need to make sure that we're basically picking up after ourselves or whenever we visit the river, because all of that has a really big impact on the critters that live there. Just to give you guys some more information on our watershed, the name, if anybody didn't know, the name of our watershed is Santa Ana River. So we actually have the biggest watershed in Southern California. It's over 2,800 miles long. If you guys see that picture up there towards the right, that's how long the Santa Ana River is itself. So I think it's over 100 miles long, which is pretty crazy and pretty gnarly to think about. But it runs through the Riverside, parts of LA County, Central Orange County before reaching the Pacific Ocean. Um, Over 5 million people live in this watershed. And our watershed is really cool because we have three endemic fish. Endemic means that they can only survive in one place in the entire world. So if we were to scoop these fishes up and throw them in the Mississippi River, they would not survive. They only like the living in the Santa Ana River. And these fish, because they're endemic and because they're very sensitive, they're becoming endangered. So federally threatened and listed as species of special concern. They're tiers under being considered officially endangered. But yeah, there's actually some really cool fish. The Santa Ana sucker is really cool because he has a really big mouth. But unfortunately, since the water's getting warmer, um, they're not actually liking to live here anymore. But there's a lot of cool info and resources on our website about the sucker too, if you would like to learn some more. But great. So let's talk about what happens when we use water at home, right? So we don't really think about this. It's a little taboo to think about what happens to our water when we flush the toilet, right? But so I don't everybody in our house, or any water usage in our house, or like if we're out at the mall or if we're at our schools or parks, all of that water when it's done being used, it's gonna go through something called the sewer system. And the sewer system is going to lead to the wastewater treatment plant. So the water's cleaned and it's processed, but then it actually gets dumped back into the Santa Ana River, which is fine because it's clean. It's actually cleaner than it naturally is, so it doesn't end up harming anything. But on the right-hand side, anything outside of our homes, it's going to go through something called the storm drain system. So as we remember those really big storms that were going on a couple of months ago, all of that trash that's being picked up with the rain, it's going to go through the storm drain system, but it doesn't get processed, it doesn't get cleaned, it gets directly dumped into the river. So if you see that little green picture right there, and as we know, the Santa Ana River goes directly to the ocean. So not only are we harming the river itself, but it has the potential to reach the ocean and also harm the critters of the ocean. So this is just a little pop quiz if anybody in the chat knows, remember. So water used inside our homes goes through which system? Ooh, yay, the sewer system, great. And then water used outside of our homes, we can remember because it comes down. Storm, yay, great, storm drain system. Perfect. So those are the catch basins. That's what basically catches our water on the streets. It leads to the river and actually to the ocean. And that's actually what an outlet looks like. So this is not the Santa Ana River one. This is actually one in Newport. But again, it's pretty gnarly to think about. All of our trash ends up here back into the beach. And unfortunately, most of the stuff that's found is like plastic, microplastics, and little pieces of styrofoam, which, as we know, that's what birds like and they see, they think it's food. So we want to make sure that we're not contributing to this, right? And we could talk a little bit more about this shortly. So urban runoff is basically just water after a rain event that continues to move. And the reason that a city block has 9 times more runoff than a natural area is because we know that natural areas like trees, they have grass, and they suck up the water. Compared to like a city block that's full of cement, the water's just going to sit there, right? So it ends up creating 9 times more runoff, and runoff carries pollutants, um, the urban watershed, right? Impervious surfaces, that just means like that the water doesn't seep through. So there's a bunch of cement. Um, and the reason that this is bad is because it prevents rainwater from actually entering the groundwater system. Pollutants such as tire wear wash into the storm drain system. It actually increases the ambient temperature. So that just means it's making it hotter. We want a lot more green spaces than cement. And it reduces the amount of habitat for plants and animals. Great. We're going to watch a little video. I think everybody will be able to listen. But if not, let me know. Just where does all nature and earth help absorb the rain slowly and break down pollutants, naturally refilling our groundwater, keeping our ways healthy. Roads, driveways, and buildings sources rain into storms directly into rivers, streets. They get too much water. It's like a fire hose, causing erosion and stirring up water up to in our waters, harm our aquatic life. Comes to water, soak into the ground, some extra topsoil. Build a rain garden and sidewalks. Reduce the pollution water.
Sorry to interrupt, Joanna. Can you add closed captions? The sound is going in and out for everybody, I think.
Your plastic garbage. Wash your car and commercial tires. You do, the less will go down the storm drains and the waters. And remember, should go down the
No,
drain.
it froze on the screen, but the sound's still pretty choppy.
Okay, that was the end of the video. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll talk a little bit more about it. But sorry about that, everybody. But basically what that video is saying is just giving little tips about what we could do to kind of prevent urban runoff pollution, right? Which let's just talk about washing our car. I know we don't really think about it, but washing our car might be bad, right? But not everybody uses organic soap, right? And if we're washing our car on the driveway, the chemicals from the soap and the tire wear, if it gets into those catch basins and into the storm drain system, it's going to end up impacting water quality. And then overwatering can also be bad if we use like fertilizers or pesticides, anything like that. I know pesticides we don't really talk about, but anything that's left, any residue that's left on our grass, if we're overwatering it, gets on the driveway, on the sidewalk, and then in turn gets into our storm range water, everything's going to go to that outlet. So, um, another reason that we contribute and we don't really think about it is littering, right? We see it on the street. Unfortunately, it's still a real thing. People drop their trash on the street and they don't pick up after themselves. And if we live in a very windy city, so it's super easy for that to get carried into catch basins. But yeah, litter kills river and ocean animals each year. The trash vortex is now twice the size of Texas, though. So that trash that's just floating around in the ocean is that big. If we all know Texas is pretty big. So we could only imagine how big that trash vortex is. So something that we could do is basically practice the 3 R's, right? So reduce, reuse, recycle. Reducing our plastic usage is the biggest thing that we could do. Um, the big change that I know is very hard even for me is reducing our plastic water bottle usage, buying like gallons instead and having reusable water bottles, not getting plastic utensils when we do takeout if we have some at home. So little changes like that really do have an impact. Um, and then how many of us have dogs? Just by like a little raise of hands or a thumbs up. Great. So all of us have dogs, right? And we don't really think about this, but if we leave our dog's poop outside when it's raining, um, that bacteria and that all of that's going to get carried into the storm drain system. And the decay of animal and human waste requires oxygen. So that's basically taking out the oxygen out of bodies of water, and it ends up kind of killing the critters that live in our water. So it's super important that we're picking up after our pets. And again, just to kind of clarify on that, so why do we care, right? An excess of nutrients, it basically causes algal blooms. That's when the algae explodes. So since there's so much bacteria, so much nutrients in the body of water, the algae ends up sucking up all of the oxygen out of water, and it causes a dead zone. So look, you guys see the fish are belly up. That could happen in our river. That could happen at Big Bear. So we want to make sure that we're doing the little things that we can do to make sure we're not contributing to this. Again, making those small changes at home, right? Washing your car on the grass or taking it to go get washed at a car wash where they recycle their water is something big. Again, we live in a very windy city. If our trash cans fall, we could pick up after ourselves, right? And then we could do community cleanups, clean up the river areas, clean up the beach, making sure only rain in the drain. Hopefully, that's our motto. No dumping, everything drains to the river. Taking expired medicine to pharmacy, picking up after a pet, and also enjoying our waterways. A lot of us don't really know that the Santa Ana River is basically in our backyard. Riverside was named Riverside because it's next to the river. So, yeah, now that you guys know some more information, some little tips and tricks, you could also share it with your family. Word of mouth plays a big thing. And yeah, just wanted to plug our cleanup again. If you guys ever want to join us and take out shopping carts again or some tires, we'll be there every third Saturday of the month at Martha McLean. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to my presentation. I really appreciate it.
Right, awesome job, Joanna. It's very exciting to hear about water quality and water equity. If you have any questions for Joanna, please leave them in the chat and we'll address them shortly. But now I'd like to introduce our second speaker. Joaquin Castillos is an organizing coordinator with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, CCAEJ. He joined the organization in 2021 after graduating from UC Riverside with a BS in Sustainability Studies. Originally from South Central LA, Joaquin moved to Bloomington, where he was 6 years old and has lived there since. Living in Bloomington is what inspired him to join the environmental movement, given that the small, unincorporated town has been a focal point of the logistics industry, with warehouse development rapidly encroaching on the community. A fun fact about Joaquin is that he recently got an orange kitty named Hermes. Please welcome Joaquin. And for any questions, please leave them in the chat and we'll address them shortly. Take it away, Joaquin.
Hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? Good. Hi everyone. My name is Joaquin Castillejos. First of all, thank you to Joanna and all the amazing work that IE Water Keepers do. Definitely it's hard work, and our rivers and our waterways need a lot of care. So thank you for taking up that work, and thank you for everyone for being here, and being taking some time out of your day to hear about sustainability and hear about what you could do in your own cities, and where you live. So my name is Joaquin, pronouns he him. I am from Bloomington, California. Like they said, originally from LA, and yeah, I've been with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice for about 2 years, and I'll go ahead and start it off with, who is CCAJ. So CCAJ is a progressive base building nonprofit organization bringing communities together to find opportunities for cooperation, agreement, and problem solving, and improving their social and natural environment. Using the lens of environmental health to achieve social change, we work within communities to develop and sustain the democratically based participatory decision making that promotes involvement of a diverse segment of the community in ways that empower the community. To summarize that, a lot of words, but really what it means is that our organization is dedicated to finding solutions to environmental justice issues in our area by empowering our community and organizing to to solve problems in ways that is not keeping anybody out of the equation or missing anything from communities in any type of way, but bringing communities together to collectively find answers, to collectively work together to find solutions. A little bit about CCAJ. In case you didn't know, CCAJ, the Center for Community Action Environmental Justice, is actually one of the pioneering environmental justice organizations in the country. It CCAJ started in the 70s when in the Harupa Hills, um, in between Fontana and Harupa Valley, there was a quarry called Stringfellow, and companies all across California started dumping toxic waste in this quarry, and it came to a time in the late 70s when this when this quarry in a rainy season, this quarry overflowed, and all that toxic waste that was in there flowed straight into the community. And this actually happened during the day. And from the stories I've heard, right, because I've heard a lot. I read a bit about what they went through and stuff. But the it was during the school day, and kids were out, at recess, and the foam was flowing into the school, and kids were playing with the foam, and like they thought it was fun and everything. They had no idea that there was a toxic waste site, just a couple miles or like a mile above them. And it wasn't until they started getting rashes, their hair started falling out, that they were like, wait, what's going on? The parents, the teachers started getting worried. They started trying to find out what to do. And our founder, Penny Newman, and other leaders in the community started, asking questions, started organizing. And through their organizing and through the advocating that they did in the state and even nationally, they were able to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and they won their case, where they got something called the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act, also known as the Superfund, where these companies that were polluting the community were forced to pay over 114 million in reparations to the residents, because of the damage that they did. And since then, CCAJ has been working in the Inland Empire and San Bernardino and Riverside counties, in not only issues like this, but environmental justice issues, everything from air quality to water quality, to land use, and not only that, but intersecting with different issues since then. So how do we define environmental justice? To us, our environment is our built, social, and natural surroundings that impact our lives every day. So it's not only like nature that is our environment; it's also all the buildings around us. It's also our social environment. How we interact with each other every day, and it's a little blurry here, but we base also a lot of our beliefs off the principles of environmental justice. You can look that up and you'll find the like it's like I think 17 principles that really goes through like what environmental justice means, and how we're supposed to go about it, with really focusing on fighting for our communities and fighting for those who are most impacted, especially our communities in the front line, and the fence line that have been, facing these issues for decades, right? And this is one of my favorite quotes right here. It says, once you start making these linkages, you can no longer do just tree planting. When you start working with the environment seriously, the whole arena comes: human rights, women's rights, environmental rights, children's rights, everybody's rights. And that was by Dr. Wangari Maathai, founder of the Green Belt movement in Kenya, environmental activist, one of like the a leading environmental figure to this day. And it's not to say like, oh, we shouldn't be doing tree planting, because that is super important too, and that work is important to bring green spaces in our community. But environmental justice, when we start looking at the issues that our communities are facing, it's not a coincidence that it's always our BIPOC communities, our Black and Brown communities, low income communities, women that are always facing the brute impact of these issues. And that's why it's when we start working in environmental justice, we get to the root of the issue, to really try to find a solution, right? So what are we facing here in the IE? The Inland Valley region of Southern California, we has faced EJ issues that impact our marginalized BIPOC low-income communities for a long time. It's kind of been a part of this region, and it started, you know, since the colonizers or people started what's it called, settling in this area and removing the indigenous people and started using the land for other reasons that wasn't, that was exploiting it. But today, the main issues, EJ issues that we face is air quality, water quality, and land use, among many other things. And air quality, how do we see this, come up in our communities? Is the logistics industry, right? Warehousing, rail yards, airports, freeways. Maybe some of us know, but freeways, if we look at the histories of freeways in the Inland Empire, it's rooted in environmental racism. If you see the history of like the 10 freeway, when they first started building it, they decided to build it in places that went straight through communities of color, low income communities, completely, dividing and placing the harshest impacts on those communities. Water quality, I think Joanna went through that in her presentation, but the water quality issues that we face in the Inland Empire, it's very broad, right? And it's a large amount from many different sources, but some of those are PFAS, forever chemicals in our water systems. And the IE also was, a major center for military bases, back in the the mid 1900s to the 70s. We had the Norton Air Force Base, March Air Force Base, George Air Force Base, and all these Air Force bases, because of their use of like the jets and everything, the jet fuel, went into the groundwater and polluted a lot of the groundwater that we have today, in areas like Adelanto and San Bernardino and some parts of Riverside. And land use, right? The lack of open space and green spaces in our community. It's a huge issue that we see, the taking away of those open spaces to build warehouses. Also, a huge issue is the preservation of natural areas. We are so we have such low amount now, of natural areas that it's important to preserve as much as we can. And that's something that is an issue, because it seems like that's something that sometimes our governments are not focusing on as compared to other things. And land zoning is a huge issue. That's what makes a difference in whether we have open spaces, where we put industrial areas, where we put warehouses, where residential areas are put separately from polluting areas, right? And so these are some of the issues. um, Here's like a quick rundown. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but the impacts of air pollution, right? Sorry, I'm gonna go back to this. You might not be able to see this chart, but this graph right here was made by researchers Pitzer College and a radical research that they made a tool called Warehouse City Tool. I'm sure if you look that up, you'll be able to find it. But it kind of really shows the concentration of warehouses in the Inland Empire and the exact amount of impact that it's having on our communities. Everything from the pounds of carbon dioxide everything from the pounds of carbon dioxide um, that we see daily, the amount of PM 2.5 that we see, the amount of truck trips every day. And it's kind of when you first look at the chart, it's kind of alarming, thinking like just the amount of pollution that we have to face every day. And I recommend you, if you're able to use that tool, you could pinpoint it directly, whatever city you live in. It could you plug in your city and it'll give you the exact amount of how many warehouses are in your city, how many are coming in, the amount of truck trips that your city faces every day. And these are important things to like look out for, right? Because sometimes we don't really see it, in real life, or it's something that is not always, in our mind. But when we see tools like this, it really puts it into perspective, just the amount of impact that we're facing every day, from the pollution. We've been ranked number one in ozone pollution for the last, I think, 2-3 years, in the whole country. And it's not a coincidence, right? It's the amount of an industry that's coming into our communities. And not only that, but the geography of the Inland Empire is kind of like a bowl, right? And since it's a bowl, all the pollution that's coming from LA, it falls right into our bowl and it stays there, and that plus everything that we're adding on ourselves, it just creates a situation where it's overwhelming, right, for the air quality. And there's a little fact right there in the bottom. An estimated 40% of the nation's consumer goods come through our region, right? And 1 of 8 inland workers are employed in the logistics industry. So that kind of also puts it into perspective just how large of an impact, the industry, the logistics industry has on our lives every day. We might see it, we might not see it, but it's the reality of our everyday lives. And because 40% of the nation's consumer goods, we kind of face the what's it called, the weight, the charge, of carrying that burden for the whole country. And here, to just go a little bit more into air pollution, it's generated by fossil fuel emissions. It's it's one of the main concerns about warehousing in our communities. It's important to know also that children are more vulnerable to lung damage due to inhaling PM, because of their developing lungs. And it happens at an accelerated rate until ages 2 to 3, where we see the lung growth really take off, and then slows down through the age of 8. And also, children breathe at a faster rate than adults, meaning that when they're breathing, they're taking in that pollution at a faster rate. And PM 2.5 is one of the most dangerous forms of pollution that there is, because PM 2.5 is actually a measurement for pollution. So particulate matter is a form of like naming, it could be diesel, it could be carbon dioxide, but it's the measurement. So 2.5 is the smallest one, or one of the smallest. And what it means is that when you breathe it in, it goes directly into your bloodstream. So that pollution, is going directly, to affect, it not only affects your, it doesn't affect your respiratory system, but it goes deeper than that too, affecting everything, from blood pressure to sometimes even diabetes and stuff like that. So it's very alarming, right? And yeah, and I'm gonna go to the next slide. So how are we fighting for sustainability in our communities? Like I said before, our focus is on organizing to build community power and leadership through community education, civic engagement, and policy. That's the main way. That's our main goal at CCAJ. to really give the community the power to to stand up in their city council, their county meetings, and to go up to their representatives, to go to their local agencies and find what um like what they could do and use their voice to advocate for their communities, for clean air, for regulations that protect the health and safety of the people, right? So recently, some recent campaigns that we've had, one of them is the warehouse indirect source rule. So I think it was this year it came into effect, but for since 2018, I believe we've been fighting for the warehouse indirect source rule. And what this does is that it holds the warehouses accountable for the pollution that they cause, right? And there's that argument, oh, warehouses don't produce any pollution. They're just like a cement building, right? But the what the warehouse indirect source rule does, it holds warehouses accountable for the pollution that comes, from the businesses, from the sources that they bring, right? And those sources are the trucks. And instead of warehouses or warehouse companies, blaming it on the trucks or like those the transportation, this rule forces them to take accountability, for bringing those warehouses into communities and for pollution that they emit. And that took a lot of community advocating. That took a lot of going to meetings, making public comments for that to come. And it's a way to make sure that there's someone being held accountable for the pollution. And although it's not like the perfect answer, it is the first step to keeping those companies accountable. Next, something similar is the rail yard indirect source rule. So this is also a huge campaign for the EJ movement and the IE, for CCAJ, because rail yards are also a huge source of pollution. Those communities that are next to rail yards have the highest rates of cancer, of respiratory diseases. And the problem for a long time was that rail yards or companies like BNSF or Santa Fe, they were regulated federally, right? And because they're regulated federally, state or local agencies weren't allowed to put any regulations on that. But after years of fighting and community advocating and going all the way to Sacramento, going to Washington, the EPA finally ruled this past month, or in October, that local agencies are allowed to regulate rail yards, and that was a huge win, right? And right now they're still, figuring out the indirect source rule to make that a part of like the regulation. But they're going towards that. Next is the local warehouse moratoriums in cities like Colton, Rupa Valley, Redlands. They've been able to put stops on warehouse development for up to 2 years and do studies on how the logistics industry is impacting those communities. Next is AB 1000. It's a bill by Assembly Member Eloise Reyes to create an 1,000-foot buffer between warehouse development and sensitive receptors like homes, schools, hospitals. Unfortunately, the bill had to be extended 2 years, but there's still an opportunity for it to pass. And I encourage everyone, if you hear anything about it, or if you follow us on social media, to make sure that you stay active or engage in that process, because we need the support of the community, to make bills like this happen. And last is the region in crisis. It's a demand letter that we sent to the governor to place a 2-year moratorium on warehouse development in the entire Inland Empire, and allow for studies on the cumulative impacts of the industry in our communities. And this demand letter, it's about 50 pages long, and it has all it outlines the impacts of pollution, the impacts of the warehousing industry on our communities. And these are just some of the campaigns. There's also very like local campaigns, and you can find that on our website, or if you sign up to volunteer, and try to get involved. Some of these, I'm gonna try to explain these pictures as fast as I can. The first picture up here, is when we went up to Sacramento with some of our community members to advocate a scoping plan, a state scoping plan, where we were asking the state, to start going through a path, to zero emission. The second picture right there is a cabalgata, a type of parade that we had in Bloomington, where they were trying to build a huge warehouse on top of homes, and even buying a school out. The school that I went to, elementary school, actually, a developer was trying to buy all that, and we had a protest cabalgata, a form of like community, solidarity, where we had hundreds of people on horseback. We had people marching, shouting, that no more warehouses in our community. And the last one is also, some of the community members at the county in San Bernardino, protesting against warehousing next to homes and schools. Yeah, and those are just some ways that, we're fighting for sustainability in our communities. Don't get me wrong, like, we are not against jobs, we're not against anything like that. What we are against is unsustainable growth of industries like the logistics industries in our communities that end up affecting negatively our people, affecting the health and the safety, right, of our community.
Sorry to interrupt, Joaquin. I just want to give you a 1 minute warning before we have to head into questions.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll just
You're okay.
finish off with this, right? One way that you could get involved is we have community action teams, in several cities across the Inland Empire, where if you want to get involved and in getting informed on what's going on in your city, or you want to lead an effort, to even bring a green space, to stop a warehouse, to bring more policies to protect your community. We do this through community action teams, and you could join one in your city. Watch out for that. On our website or anything if we have an active one, or you could start one yourself. That's an option too. But thank you so much for this opportunity and for hearing me out. I know it was a lot, but yeah, feel free to follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on X, and we're always posting updates about what's going on. Feel free to email me as well if you have any questions or you want to get involved. But yeah, thank you. And yeah, I don't know if there's time for questions, or we'll wrap that up right there.
Yes, thank you, Joaquin. Love the presentation. We do have time for a couple of questions for both of our presenters, Joanna and Joaquin. For the IE Waterkeeper, can you walk us through a community cleanup event? Do folks have to register?
Yes, so we do have an option to register online, and you could just get rid of that by doing it. It's really quick online form, but we also do offer forms in person if you would rather do that. But yeah, it's really easy to show up, and we provide pickers and gloves, and any other tools necessary. If you guys want to get into the river, I recommend wearing like shorts. Um, but yeah, it's a really fun event. Students get community service hours too. So if anybody has any students that are like an avid or want to put that on their college apps, that's a great way to do that too. And yeah, we usually just keep it pretty short, because it is actually a little bit extensive if you choose to get the trophy trash. But if we want to do like smaller trash, you could also keep it cool and calm too. But yeah, we usually start at 9 and end at 10:30.
Awesome. And just to add on to that, can you describe the different materials that you find? How do you manage like any hazardous materials that folks are picking up?
Yeah, so we have like for like sharps or needles, we have like a special hazardous container, so we pick those up ourselves. But the city of Riverside actually we just basically give them a call, and if we have like any bigger trash, we put it on the side of the road, and they send their teams to go pick it up. But usually what we find is a lot of plastic stuff. So a lot of the plastic actually gets stuck into like the bushes and the greenery of the river area. Since it's like riparian, it's kind of has like a lot of easy little holes for it to get into it. But yeah, there's always a lot of shopping carts. I don't know why. They're just always there. And there's always like a lot of tire wheels too. So sometimes we think like people just go to dump things at the river, unfortunately. But most of the stuff, if it's not big like that, it's plastic wrappers or when people go hang out by the river, which is great. They leave like their bottles or their food wrappers, which is very unfortunate. But yeah, there's a lot of little different things around there.
Awesome. Thank you for your response. For CCAJ, in what ways does CCAJ engage with and train future leaders, particularly marginalized communities, to ensure their voices are heard in EJ movement? Are there any specific programs or projects that highlight that commitment? I know you mentioned the community action teams, but are there any other ways?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So we have something called Environmental Justice Ambassador Program. It's basically like a 6 week course where we go through everything, from community resilience to climate resilience to how to get involved locally in your local government. What does energy independence mean? How to create community grids. Super broad, and we bring in experts from the field. Yeah, that's one way that we provide that type of education for that community. And anyone who's interested, we are gonna have future programs coming up next year. You're free to join and join an ambassador program and get informed and hopefully be a leader in your community.
Awesome. Well, thank you again to our EJ presenters, Joanna and Joaquin. The time is now 11:16, so we'll commence our break time. We'll have about 5 minutes to grab another cup of coffee or use the restroom. If anyone has questions for any of our presenters or for our department, please leave them in the chat and we can address them at a later time. Thank you and see you in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Now we have our education session with two fantastic advocates. To start off our Empowering Youth for Environmental Stewardship session is Ellen Nguyen, who is the VP of Sustainability at the Associated Students of the University of California and the Director of the Green Campus Action Plan, GCAP. She has been a part of the Green Campus Action Plan for 3 years, beginning as an intern, followed by vice chair, and then winning the ASUCR election to become Vice President of Sustainability. She took on the role in June 2023 and will serve until the end of her term in June 2024. Her hometown is Riverside, and she currently attends UC Riverside. A fun fact about Ellen is that she has been stung by a Portuguese man-o'-war. Please welcome Ellen, and for any questions, leave them in the chat. We'll address them in a joint Q&A session at the end of our two presenters. Take it away, Ellen.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I have a quick little presentation for you all to teach you more about the Green Campus Action Plan and all that we do. So many of you probably are a little unfamiliar with the Green Campus Action Plan at UCR unless you actively attended the school. But I wanted to give you all a quick agenda of everything I'll be talking about today. So a brief background on the Green Campus Action Plan, which I'll just refer to as GCAP from now on. And then also how we actually empower students, all the projects that we're currently doing and will continue to do, and then why the impact of college level sustainability is so strong, especially here at UCR. So, what is the Green Campus Action Plan? We're a committee of 12 students really dedicated to pioneering sustainability on campus. We have a lot of different resources and campus partnerships with the Office of Sustainability, campus planning, campus architecture, and overall other organizations and clubs that are working to give back to students, empower students, mobilize them, and uplift them, and give them the resources they need to really make change on campus. A huge part about being in college is getting a job, and we want to be able to give students an opportunity to have those jobs in a sustainable space. So that's why we have an internship program that is really pivotal in building up our students. We fund 4 interns every year, and they are able to work up to 10 hours every week. Working on sustainability projects, which I'll get into a bit more later. We also fund the Our Garden interns. So if you all are familiar with UCR's community garden, they have a huge impact throughout Riverside's community. They don't only give food to students in basic needs, but also to community members as well. And we're able to fund up to 6 interns for the Our Garden so that we can really ensure that we're fighting that food insecurity and giving people the resources they need to have access to healthy and equitable food. So a big part of empowering students, I want to make an emphasis, is our Green Grants program. So the reason why GCAP is here and it's funded and we're able to make this impact is because of the GCAP referendum. So alongside our tuition, every student pays $2.50 to the GCAP referendum, and they're allowed to all that money goes to that referendum, and in turn, we get $1.88 to GCAP, which goes directly back to funding students. We get $1.88 to put it towards those internship programs, but most especially for green grants, which are available for students to apply to, and I'll get more into that as well. We also do a lot of educational programming. So every quarter, which is only about 10 weeks for us, we try to host at least 4 events every quarter, which are going to be both educational but also extremely interactive. College students are really hard to engage with sometimes, especially on sustainability fronts, because people really just don't have the time or accessibility to get involved in sustainability. A lot of people are busy with classes, are busy with working, and it's not an easy thing to always have access to. So it's really important that we make these sustainability programs exciting and also engaging, just so that we can really get that outreach in there. And then lastly, a bit more on the behind the scenes end of things. We do a lot of different initiatives and policies that are encouraging students to really shift their mindsets and give them resources. It's hard to be able to get into that sustainable space without having institutional support on that end. We through a lot of resource allocation, and then we're always working on implementing new policies on campus that are going to allow our students to feel supported when it comes to their sustainable efforts. And then we can also help to alleviate both environmental burdens on them and also student concerns when it does come to climate change. So a bit more about green grants. So what I was saying earlier was that we have these green grant programs where $1.88 from every undergraduate student's tuition goes towards our green grant fund. In that, we have been able to fund over $200,000 worth of grants within the last 13 years. This is huge. All the grants are accessible to any undergrad, and anyone's allowed to apply. We have two different kinds of grants, which is a small scale initiative and a large scale initiative. Small scale initiatives are allowed to apply for up to $4,000 in funding, and large scale up to $12,000 in funding. Through this, different organizations, just passionate students, or other departments on campus are allowed to receive funding to make their events or overall programs more sustainable or provide more resources back to students. And I wanted to highlight a couple of our really impactful programs that we've helped to support over the past, honestly, these were all in the past year. So we had a sustainable period party with the Women's Resource Center, where we were able to give over 50 different types of sustainable menstruation products back to students. And these things are really hard for students to get because they're oftentimes expensive, and most people won't go out of their way to choose sustainability unless we can give it to them in an accessible manner. So, really proud of our Women's Resource Center. We've also done a lot with renewable energy. So, we've funded the Hispanic Society of Engineers solar boat projects. We've also done a lot of electric vehicle support with the Highlander Racing Club at our school, along with supporting a lot of hackathons. This year, I have implemented a couple of new programs. So the Well at UCR, which is like a health organization, decided to do a loan a lock program to really encourage sustainable transportation and allowing people to have accessibility to bike locks on campus to prevent obviously any theft. And that's a new program that we're really excited to do. Furthermore, we are funding the Highlander Space Program this year, where they're creating a different kind of sustainable fuel, actually a biofuel, and this specific rocket will, when it launches, I guess, will disperse native seeds into the desert, which is a really exciting feature, and we're looking forward to seeing their progress with that. This year, we're also helping to implement a food waste tracking service within the dining halls at UCR. Obviously, we have a lot of different food waste when it comes to students living on campus, and this is going to really revolutionize the way that we're able to see how food is tracked on campus and how much food waste we're actually generating. Last year, I'm sure some of you all are familiar with the Office of Sustainability and Fortino Morales, who is also the founder of GCAP overall. They got a grant for TerraCycling, which is a program that allows you to recycle things that you never thought you would be able to recycle. And then I wanted to bring back the R Garden because we fund all of their interns, and then we also provide them with a lot of different materials that they might need. So, the machinery or also just any repairs they need on that machinery, we usually help them through green grants. And then lastly, we have a decathlon team at UCR, which is Enrich UCR, and they actually built a full-sized LEED certified home, which they are taking to different decathlons and have been quite successful with winning and just moving forward with that. And we were able to provide them with the funding to build that home and to garner sustainable innovation and green building design. So just more about GCAP's educational programming. Like I said, we always want to be really engaging and give students lots of opportunities to be a part of sustainable change, whether that just be part of their own individual lifestyles or managing their own climate anxiety. Um, but I wanted to highlight a couple of the things that we do every quarter that are really impactful to students, and they actually engage with a lot and are really excited to be a part of. So we had our Earth Day Festival starting in 2022, and we're going to have our third one this upcoming year. It started my first year, so I've been really proud to be a part of all of these programs. During the Earth Day Festival, well, during Earth Week, we'll do a full week of events. And then on Thursday of that week, we'll do a huge festival where there's live food and, live music, vegan food. We always try to do some kind of thrifting aspect because obviously college students love new clothes. And then some kind of other elements. We did like a bee awareness event where we had a local professor come and talk about bee sustainability, and then also did like a honey tasting. We also try to do a lot of climate cafes because climate anxiety is a really big problem amongst a lot of young people, especially college students who are concerned with sustainability and climate change. And with that, it's always good to open up conversation and give people a space to just feel great about how they're making strides in climate. So that whether that be giving them watercoloring, we've done crochet. Just 2 weeks ago, we did a little pottery event for students to really just relax and be surrounded by like-minded individuals who really do care about climate and they can relate upon the fact that we are making strides on that front. A really popular event amongst our undergrads is the Bring Your Own. So basically what we do, we'll do like large containers of some kind of drink, and then we just encourage people to bring their own containers and get some kind of incentive out of it. So this last quarter, to kick off the school year, we did a Bring Your Own Boba event. So we had over 150 participants bring their own cups. So those were mason jars, their hydro flasks, just reused cups, and they were all able to get a little cup of boba during our tabling. And then we also try to do a lot of do-it-yourself or design thing kind of events. Literally just 2 days ago, we had a build your own terrarium event, just to get people excited about sustainability and all the fun things that come along with it. And then also a huge part, like I said, was thrifting. Our students love to exchange clothes and it brings together a big community. So we do a quarterly thrift stop. So every quarter we'll provide a program where students can bring up to 5 items of clothing in and then swap it out for 5 other secondhand items that other students brought in. And just for a couple of things that are coming up in the near future for GCAP, within this next quarter, we're going to be doing our Earth Week Festival again. Then doing a green panel. This is a huge opportunity for us to bring in a lot of connections for GCAP. And then our thrift swap, and then we have a couple of little events right there, which are going to be some sustainable candle making, and we're potentially going to be doing a carbon scrubbing paint night. So I want to highlight a few of our initiatives. So the Brita Filter Initiative is where we're able to provide Brita filters and the actual Britas to students to stop so much plastic usage. We do a shuttling service every fall quarter to allow students to get to Ontario Airport who are flying home, to really encourage sustainable transportation. It's safe, reliable, and it doesn't cost the students any money. We hope to implement a lab coat recycling program as well, just so that new students who are coming in don't have to spend the $20 to $30 on a lab coat that's brand new that they are going to end up probably just throwing in the landfill anyways. We were also able to just install a bike pump on campus near Central Campus because we tend to notice that a lot of the bike pumps are near residential areas or they're just not as accessible and they don't have all the necessary tools needed to actually make that difference. So we're really excited, and we did just get this bike pump installed right outside of like the GCAP building essentially. And then also we want to implement more sustainable menstruation products because and proven from our last period party with the Women's Resource Center. We had a huge, great response on this, and obviously, menstrual equity is extremely important everywhere, and we want to make sure that we can do that in a sustainable manner. I also forgot to say that there was one last initiative that we just implemented recently on campus, and I really want to highlight that, which was that we were able to have all of the on-campus restaurants provide a new incentive, which is going to be if you bring your own reusable cup or reusable container, you can get some kind of discount on your meal. So, for example, we have a coffee bean and tea leaf on campus, and if you bring your own cup, you'll be able to get 25 cents off your purchase. And obviously, it's all about incentivizing students to participate in these things, and we're really excited for students to be able to get those discounts, and I'm glad my team worked so hard to get that implemented. Um, and lastly, we have policy change. Obviously, policy is a huge part of getting change to happen on campus and throughout the world. We have had quite a few wins lately, one of those wins being about the implementing cupware and container incentives to on-campus dining. A huge part about GCAP is getting involved with other organizations at other UCs who are also sustainability and environmentally related, and that's why we are part of the UC Green New Deal co-op. In that we're trying to get our faculty and administration to really support electrification efforts. And through this, we've had a lot of intensive conversations with our admin about why we need to hold them accountable and how students like ourselves are concerned about climate change and that renewable and electrifying our campus is extremely important to people. So yeah, we're here to hold our administration accountable on sustainability, on the UCOP goals, and then on carbon neutrality overall. We're here to also advocate for any student concerns. A new project that we're working on currently is just making student safety when it comes to walkability and bike accessibility on campus more available. We're also trying to support the R Garden this year and then reduce food waste through a new recovery program that we hope to implement very soon. So I just want to say that college students are change makers, and myself and all the people that I have on my team and all the people I get to work with are truly incredible individuals who are so passionate. Obviously, UCR is located in Riverside, the Inland Empire, a place where people are extremely vulnerable to climate change and environmental justice runs rampant. And being able to uplift students is a really important part of college, and providing resources to them all is something I'm really passionate about and glad to do. Thank you all for giving me some time today, and I'm happy to answer any questions once we get to that portion of the session. Thank you.
Yes, amazing presentation, Ellen. As UCR alumni, I'm great to hear about all the different environmental programs that are still in place today and what inspired me, to become part of the sustainability field. So thank you for all your amazing work. Next, our presenter, Agnes Wilbur, is a certified science teacher at La Sierra High School, where she's been teaching for 9 years. She's originally from Denver, Colorado, and received her degree from UC Riverside as well. In her free time, she's an amateur musician and enjoys volunteering. Please welcome Agnes, and for any questions, leave them in the chat. We'll address them in the joint Q&A session shortly.
Hello, thank you for the introduction. I'm going to go ahead and show my presentation here. So as mentioned in the presentation, I am Agnes Wilbur. I am a teacher at La Sierra High School. And I just started teaching, I just started teaching AP Environmental Science last year. So I'd like to thank my predecessor, John Crick, who was really instrumental in starting the program up until he retired. So he retired probably about 5 years ago, I would say. And we had a recycling program at that time. So I took inspiration from him. But it really came from the grassroots of my class last year who wanted to start the recycling club. And so there are two students, one of them actually is pictured. That's our logo, our t-shirt. I'm really proud of that.
Sorry, Agnes, to cut you off, but I don't think we're reviewing your presentation.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm not sure if we can.
Oh yeah, here we go. Let's see, sure. I know we practiced this too. It's
okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'll go back. Okay, is that better now?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, so here's our logo, saving the planet one bottle at a time. And in our picture here, our students, we had, it was actually Earth Week last week, this past year. And so I'll talk more about that later. And so these are some of our students promoting our club. It started last year by 2 students. And we have about 30, and I think we've actually grown a couple more this past week. Just because a lot of emphasis is on community service, and a lot of students are really interested in what recycling is and what an effect of the environment. So here's another picture of them collecting the recycles. We collect once a week. We try to, and so we did a survey, just a quick survey about why it's important. And so a lot of people are aware, And so our club has grown because of that. And so that's like our first, like I think our first collection this year. So these blue buckets are placed in every classroom. And then once a week, we take them out of the classroom. Last year, I carved out time for during our classes to go and collect it during the school day. But this year, with more students and our class impacted, we decided to just meet after school. So there are some students who are off during sixth period, or they participate in a program where they are required to have community service. So during sixth period, they would come to my room, check in, and then they would go to all the classrooms and put the blue bins outside of the doorway so that after school, the rest of the club would collect the bins and then they dump them in a larger blue bin and then they sort. So here's kind of like a campus map. So the highlighted pink are the classrooms that have a bin. And so obviously there's quite a few more classes that don't have a bin. So we need to actually order some more just because the faculty is really interested in helping us recycle. And so what happens after sorting? So they take the bags and then we exchange it for money. And the money is actually goes towards supplies for the biodegradable trash bags, as well as our shirts, our club shirts. And so we also wanted to start donating our money to different programs like the Riverside Corona Resource Department Center, the Sierra Club, and the Tree People, who we just learned about this past year. More about that in a future slide. So as I mentioned, I started teaching AP Environmental Science last year, and we started the Recycling Club. And I've always been aware, and I always try to recycle when I can, but because we have a club on campus and because I'm an advisor, I'm held more accountable. And also it's nice to share my passion with them and to see the kinds of ideas that they have. And being a new generation is kind of, it's really heartening to see that passion come from them as well. This is our president, Andrew Nguyen. He was in my class last year. He was a junior, and this year he's a senior. And so he was one of the co-founders with a senior last year, so he had graduated. This is Camille Levesque. She's also was in my AP Environmental Science class. She was another officer last year, but she's the co-president along with Andrew. So here she is. This is our club rush. So we were advertising our club that day. This is Ivy Bowe. She's also senior. She's one of the co-treasurers. And as you can see here, she joined because she wants to help clean our campus and to help others, show others how to do that as well. This is Mary Jane Mbanu. She's actually a junior, and she's a vice president this year. So she joined this year because I don't even think she's in AP Environmental Science class. She just joined because she was interested in helping our school. This is Aslan Alam. He is our secretary. He's also a senior. He's taking AP Environmental Science this year. Vineet Sharma. He's a treasurer of our co-treasurer. He's also taking AP Environmental Science and a senior. I had both Aslan and Vineet in my freshman year biology class, so it's good to see them involved. This is Andrew Tederman. He's in my current class for AP Environmental Science. He's our historian, so he's in charge of taking the pictures and recording what we do. And then Alejandro Granados is a junior this year, and he's a media manager. So he's the one who will post on our Instagram and help us get the word out through social media. So things that we've done is definitely every week we collect recyclables. We use the large round cans with the wheels, as well as the classroom bins. The students have made signs to encourage recycling. And something we started last year was we gave candy in exchange for recyclables at any of the events on our campus. So those events included homecoming, our fall festival. We have something called a club grub where different clubs will offer foods and games. So kind of like a community festival, so to speak. We also have a spring festival. So piggybacking on the UCR, the Earth Week. We had our first Earth Week this past spring. We had an activity every day. So these were projects or events that the students came up with. So I was really proud of them. And it was kind of fun for our first time doing it. We had a clothing drive. There was face painting, one of our favorite pastimes for our students is to face paint. We had a bird feeder and jewelry making, as well as recyclables exchange throughout the week. On one of those days, we had rock painting to just as something that, from COVID times is something that a lot of students like to do. We also had art, which is those bouquets out of paper. It was fun to make. And then we also gave out a gardening kit. So it was just a small kit with some seeds to promote our environment. And then we also had we cleaned the campus after school on one of those days. So this turned out to be a lot of fun. I just kind of like gave an open, it was an assignment to come up with an activity to do for Earth Week. And so these are some of the things that came up with. We also had, I just thought about this, but we just had recyclable art in the form of like some of them made sculptures out of recyclables. So it was kind of fun to see what the students came up with, very creative. So other events that we had too were an e-waste collection, something I had no idea of how to run, but we have a lot of things that we need to recycle on our campus and even within our district. So this is something that that I'm looking into and I'm learning how to do. We also had an interview with RCDWR in May, so it was kind of fun, and we're still featured on their website. So it's been a lot of fun for the students to see that. We also participated in Climate Action Day on Saturday, September 23rd. So that's where the idea of working with the tree people came from, is we were helping to plant trees on that day with Riverside. So some of the things that we'd like to do is to continue to meet and promote awareness. They're interested in a lot of the merch, is what we call it, the shirts, hoodies. We even had hats, maybe some stickers just to promote our club. And then also some of the students were interested in visiting other schools to kind of share ideas about what we do and maybe to bring a program, similar program onto their campus if they're interested. And then we can show them how to do that. Another thing in the work is the Earth Week 2024. So again, we'll be organizing more activities and have an actual planned out e-waste collection event. And then hopefully we can have funds and we can support our cause. And then finally, some of the students were wondering about recycling paper and cardboard. We also have some metals from some things that we've collected. And so so those are kind of our next steps on wanting to do for our campus. So we would like to thank the Riverside County Department of Waste Resources for giving us that support, the advices, and the resources we needed to start our program last year and to actually continue our program. And then finally, thank you for this opportunity. I was planning to have our students come on so they can share their story a little bit, more from their view rather than from my view. But most of them are working. We just got off break, so a lot of them are traveling to visit families. But we appreciate this opportunity this year, and thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for joining us, Agnes. And thank you to all your students doing impactful work on campus. We do have a couple of questions. This is for both presenters. What method do you find most successful in getting students involved / interested?
Oh, sure. Oh, okay, I'll go. I think it's just getting the word out there. Having students who are passionate. We have meetings. I provide incentives. So at our school, we have an incentive program called it's kind of like a point system. So if they earn a certain number of points, then they can exchange it for like snacks or for merch. And so that's an incentive program. So every time they come to a meeting or they participate, they get points. And then I think this year compared to last year, definitely have more involvement just because there are more students and the visibility. And then it's kind of like a thing where it's a their friends are in, so they can draw more people. So it is definitely word of mouth. I think that definitely helps, and just having consistency.
And to piggy off what Agnes had just said, I totally agree. It's the same thing on a college campus as well. Once I feel like GCAP recently has picked up a lot more traction on our campus. Sustainability seems cooler all of a sudden to people, which is obviously it's always been cool to a lot of people who are like in a crowd like this. But when people see how fun it can be, how accessible it can be, and also how the fact that sustainability is inherently better for your wallet, probably, people are starting to catch on and see how exciting it actually is. Like I said, when it comes to programming, we really try to do things that we know people will enjoy and make those things sustainable. So, modeling like daily activities that are probably not going to be sustainable and shifting them to have that kind of sustainable aspect is always a great way to get people involved.
Um, and this is for Agnes. If you have contamination issues, how do you communicate the problem to the students and faculty? Because I understand you guys are just collecting bottles and cans, right? So for
Yes.
any other like recyclable materials or things that, you just don't want in the bins, how are y'all imagining that?
Right. Yeah, we do. So I provide gloves and then obviously hygiene. So washing hands is really important. So we really haven't had, knock on wood, issues per se. But we do use a sanitizer. So our custodial staff, actually I'm a science teacher. So we have a science building with a disinfectant. So if there's problems with that, we disinfect the blue bins and we use gloves. And so, um, I, yeah, that's the best. Yeah. On a high school campus, we don't really have any other, hopefully other contaminants to be concerned about. Um, yeah, and some of my students, they continue to wear masks too.
Okay, awesome. And then Ellen, why did you decide to become involved in GCAP or run for VP of Sustainability?
I said in my intro, I've been a part of GCAP for quite some time since my very first quarter at UCR, and I'm a third year now. I first of all really loved sustainability. I'm an environmental science major, so I just wanted more opportunities in that realm. But I realized that I also needed a job and I needed to find something to hopefully combine the fact that I could make money, but also get involved with something I was passionate about. And that's how I came across the GCAP internship program. Um, but when I applied, the application had already closed because I was just a first year and I didn't like know how to find these opportunities. But luckily, the cards played out right, and my previous predecessor and my mentor uh, enabled me to get that opportunity, and it was really great, and I'm really proud of being here now. But yeah, it was overall to just get involved in sustainability on campus, especially undergraduate-led sustainability.
Awesome. And I know GCAP collaborates with a lot of student orgs on campus. I'm curious, how does the recycling club at La Sierra collaborate with other school clubs, orgs, or community groups to promote sustainability?
Yeah, so actually I mentioned in the presentation, we work with Keep Riverside, or I forgot to mention, Keep Riverside Clean and Beautiful, which is the Climate Action Day. So a lot of our students are involved with that. We collaborate with Key Club. We also have a gardening club. So we all work together to help promote sustainability. And if there's any events, we work on those together and plan. And we have crossover students. A lot of our students belong to other clubs.
Awesome. And then just to add on to that, how is the environmental impact of the recycling club being communicated to students, faculty, and the broader school community, maybe even school district? I know you guys were trying to reach out to. Yeah, any specific plans?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So our plans are, like I said, some of the students are interested in reaching out to other schools to spread the news and to share about what we do. So that would be just presentations. As far as the school, like the school board, we haven't done this yet, but every school is invited to present what's happening on their campus. And so when we have those opportunities, we can, share that with the school board. Other than that, I guess we could do like a sustainability report, but we haven't done that yet since we're in our first year. But that's a good idea.
Yeah, lots of groundbreaking work that y'all
Mhm.
are doing. Ellen, can you speak about maybe some of the recycling programs at UCR? I know you mentioned like the Berta filter, but yeah, do you know any about like commercial recyclables going on campus?
Yeah, so we actually just switched our, I guess, full like waste system to Vertex services this month, and it's definitely a huge improvement on our recycling. College students, I would say, don't care too much about it. Our recycling has so much contamination, but I believe last year or 2020, within the last 3 years, our diversion rate from landfill was 57%, which is a pretty good number. Before the pandemic, it was a bit higher, but obviously we're still workshopping on education and hopefully to implement better signage when it comes to like recycling, waste, and compost. Um, but for GCAP specifically, we do have some specific programs, which we have like a little battery recycling center in the GCAP office for anyone to come drop things off. And then we've also implemented that into the engineering buildings. We did the Brita filter program where we would recycle the Britas for students. So they would just come to tabling on Wednesdays and drop off their filters, and we would ship those out ourselves. And then one last thing is this is kind of quarterly, it's not year round, which is TerraCycling. So last year, before students were moving out of the dorms, we provided a TerraCycling box to them so that they could just throw out random things that you typically wouldn't be able to recycle, but with that program, they would be able to, like pens or just like product containers, just random things like that.
Awesome. So it sounds like there is some movement there with recycling and waste reduction. Thank you again, Ellen and Agnes, for joining us and talking about your sustainability efforts on campus. Linda Cosquela is the founder and president of Repeat Reuse, a nonprofit organization focused on repair, landfill diversion, and supporting the circular economy. She has a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Environmental Design from Otis College of Design and is a LEED accredited professional. Additionally, she volunteers for several environmental organizations, including the Riverside County Department of Waste Resources, to educate the public on recycling, composting, and waste reduction. A fun fact about Linda is that she still has her very first reusable bag, a Stater Brothers brown bag made from recycled plastic bottles circa 2000. Please welcome Linda, and for any questions, leave them in the chat. We'll address them in the joint Q&A session shortly. And Linda is kicking off Profit with Purpose Strategies from Sustainable Organizations. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you. I'm Linda Coskella. I'm the president and founder of Repeat Reuse. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here at RivCo Recycles Day and kind of sharing our mission with other like-minded individuals. We're a 501c3. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mission is to save the Earth's resources, support the circular economy, and divert from landfills, and encourage the reuse and repair of existing materials. We want to kind of help change that throwaway mindset that people have where it's easier to just repurpose. We want to help our community be more resilient in the face of the climate crisis while also saving money. Our goal is to make an impact on the amount of durable goods being landfilled. So what is the definition of durable goods? There's any item that it has a lifespan of 3 or more years. So the EPA says that durable goods make up approximately 20% of the items that are being generated in our municipal solid waste. That one always gets me. And so this is second highest to containers and packaging. So we think that we can do something to make an effect on this tonnage going into the landfill. Appliances, furniture, tires, electronics, luggage, goods, household goods. These are all items that can be repaired. I once had a washing machine that was handed down from my aunt, and by the time that machine broke for me, it was about 30 years old. This is what we should be expecting from our appliances, not 3 years or 5 years. It should be a good amount of time. So some of the legislation that has come to the state of California is the State Bill 244. This is the Right to Repair Act. So this gives us consumers the right to do what we want with our items. Manufacturers are required to make available appropriate tools, parts, software, and documentation that will allow us to, and other like repair companies to repair these items. So anything that's $60 to $100, they must make available these tools and parts for 3 years. Items that are 100 or more, they must make available for up to 7 years. We'll have a link in the chat if you want to read more about this state bill. There are some manufacturer loopholes that the Apple has, is voicing their support for this bill, but there's something called parts pairing that they kind of participate in, and that's where they take parts and make it where it will only work with their software or their other parts. So it's kind of like they can use software to make the item not work anymore, need to be replaced. And then there's like intricate assemblies that make it really expensive to try to replace. So all this Repair Act will apply to items that are manufactured after July of 2021. It's not a perfect bill, but it's something. We're one of 3 states who now have a Repair Act in place. So this is a start. So something that Repeat Reuse does, our nonprofit does to try to divert from the landfills, is have these free fix-it fairs we host. They help people save money and resources. And we're trying to just teach people that repair is an option. It's something that anyone can do if they want to try, especially with YouTube out there. It really makes it easy to try on your own. So ours is an intergenerational kind of peer-to-peer skill sharing type event. We have this picture is we had our client. So what people have to do is they sign up they register an item that needs to be repaired, and our fixer coaches will take a look and see what item that is that's been registered, and if it needs a part, or if they think based on what the information was given, they'll advise them to bring the part needed. But otherwise, they'll bring their item in. This is Gretchen, and she brought in a Dremel, and she's a new homeowner, and she was using her Dremel, and it just like broke on her. So she tried to fix it herself. She opened it up and found like this little part in there. She wasn't sure. So she brought it into us, and this is our fixer coach, Ray. And Ray is a Xerox technician, retired. And so he was able to identify this little part that was broken in there, something they didn't feel they would be able to purchase new, a replacement part. So he went home that day, got epoxy, drove back there, and he glued the little part together. And she has reported back that it still works. But what was great about their meeting is their conversation about this Dremel and the job that she was doing. And he was able to advise her that if you just used a different extension on your Dremel, a different bit, you would be able to achieve, what she was trying to do and not burn up your tool doing so. So just those kind of, community connection is really nice. We had a lady bring in an edger, her something that was handed down to her and she still wanted to be able to use it and it wasn't starting. She knew it needed a new belt, so she brought the belt with her. The fixer coach here, this is my uncle, and he's always been really great about fixing things. And so he was able to get the edger started, but they decided it needed a new fuel filter. So she's going to purchase the fuel filter and she's going to bring it back at our next event so that repair can be completed. And then we also have here, this is Janet Moreland, Janet from the county for the Department of Waste Resources. I had told her about our Fix It fairs a time ago and she was interested, but I think I forgot to remind her about it. But she found out about it. She registered some clippers that she wanted. She wanted them to be sharpened and she had a sharpening tool that she wanted to learn how to use. So she brought it to one of our Fix It fairs and it was actually decided that the sharpening tool wasn't the appropriate tool and that the clippers actually didn't need to be sharpened. But Janet liked kind of the community and so now Janet has volunteered to be one of our fixer coaches. She's a textile fixer coach and kind of nice because I volunteer for Janet and Janet volunteers for me. And some of the items that we repair like textiles, lamps, bikes, toys, tools, small appliances, and really our fixer coaches just really enjoy the challenge. So this I think is a small list. We have one of them, John. He's someone I just met in the neighborhood and John in passing conversation told me he loved wind instruments at one point. And so John was really into wind instruments. So he's can fix wind instruments. I wouldn't add that to my list, but you brought that in. John would love that challenge. Vacuums. He said he was really into vacuums one day. So a vacuum does not scare John. So these are really fun events. They're gaining traction. They're getting more popular, and we want to spread them throughout the county as we get more fixer coaches. We do have a link if you know of anybody who enjoys fixing, knows all about repair, or even just wants to learn about it. We will take them. Let's see. So another event that we've done just this one time, but it is a free jacket swap. We put it as a free kids jacket swap. And so the idea was we partnered with the Raincross District, which is in downtown Riverside on Market Avenue. They're a wellness studio, sustainable clothing, vintage clothing shop, a really fun place to visit. But this is also where we have our Fix It fairs. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. She lets us use her wellness studio to host our Fix It fairs. So thank you, Raincross District, for that. But also in our last Fix It Fair event, we did this free kids jacket swap. And the idea is that, every winter, your kids are going to be a new size the next winter. So let's bring out those jackets they're not wearing, put them on the rack and so you bring a jacket, might be too small for your child, and leave with a jacket that would be their size. Swapping resources saves money and it saves resources. So this event was well received, but we didn't have very many jackets to show up. And this one girl, she showed up with 5 jackets. And so she came back with her 5 tickets. You get a ticket for every jacket, and then you get to redeem them for a new jacket. And she showed up with her 5 jackets, and there were no jackets for her in her size. That were kid sizes. She was about 12 or 13. So her dad asked, will the tickets still be good? And I was like, it's a great question. So got to talking with Anna from the Raincross District and Jennifer, who also helped me. She's a vendor at the Raincross District. And we decided to keep it as a permanent rack for the whole winter at the Rain Cross District. So we let this girl know that she can come and bring her tickets back anytime throughout the winter. Just keep checking in, and we'll just keep adding jackets to it, and we'll make it, kind of a perpetual jacket swap. So something new for us. We're just trying it out. But these swaps, like UCR is saying, the swaps really are great. People get new stuff, and they get to keep things in circulation. It helps the circular economy. We also want to host like a sporting goods swap. My son was, baseball in March, and now he's baseball in October, and we have to buy new cleats and get a new bat because he grew. So someone can use the new cleats that he had the last time, and just share our resources, help save money, and allows it to get into the hands of people who need it as well. So what's the future for repeat reuse? Our big picture is we want to open a reuse mall, a repair hub, and a donation station. So there's this mall in Sweden, the Rituna. These images are all from Rituna, and they opened up a mall in 2015, and they call themselves the world's first recycling mall. And so the idea is that each store will have a different shop owner and will be a different category. So there'll be an appliance store, there'll be a clothing store, there'll be sporting goods, arts and crafts, and a fabric store. Each store will also have a repair aspect to it, because right now, if you need something repaired, you have to look on Yelp, you have to find a friend. It takes some work. So I want it to be something that's easy, a one-stop shop kind of place, and you can get your bike repaired along with your shirt or your jeans mended, all in the same place. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit, so our donation station will have, two things. Not only will the people donating their items be able to get a tax-deductible receipt, but the shop owners will be getting their stock for free. So that will be kind of included in their rent. They receive these items, and then there'll be items that'll be donated that people won't, be able to use. For that, I think that's down there a little further, but we'll have like an art center. So artists, people who want to be creative with these things that maybe don't fit in the stores can do something with that. Each store will also feature workshops. And so these workshops are meant to help teach people repair, teach people maintenance of items. The appliance store will teach you how to replace the belt on your dryer. The shoe store will teach you how to maintain your leather goods. Stuff to keep our items in circulation longer and make them good for us longer. We'll have a tool lending library. We don't need to have own the tool that we're going to use, every tool in our lifetime. Let's borrow and share in that way. A refillery where we can refill our oils, save on packaging, refill our oils, our lotions, our soaps. A TerraCycle station to kind of make it more accessible for these hard to recycle items, bring it in front of people so they can be able to recycle as well. And then that art depot that I spoke about that allows people access to these items that they can upcycle, be creative with. So if you want to get involved in the repair revolution, there's a few ways you can do that. We'd love anyone interested in being a fixer. We want to get involved with the youth. We want to partner with some of the different youth organizations and teach young people the art of repair and show them that there is value in that. I replaced the plug on a blender, and it just made me feel so good that I was able to do that. Bringing items in for repair, even if it's something that you don't want, that you think it's broken, bring it in, let us repair it, and then we can donate it and we can keep it in circulation. It doesn't make sense to throw it away when it's made of so many valuable materials. You can host a swap yourself like UCR does. That's awesome. And there are so many categories of items that can be swapped amongst people. share via social media. That's kind of where it looks like everybody, learns about things is through social media. So let's keep it, no water gating the information. Let's share it all with everybody and keep the repair revolution around and donate money. We can always use any kind of donations to keep our fix-it fairs free to the community and keep helping people. So I'm Linda Costello. This is Repeat Reuse, and here's our information. There'll be a link to our website if you wanted to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Linda. Awesome to hear all the amazing resources you have for our local communities. Some of your links to all your social media and website are being shared in the chat, so people can keep an eye out for your next Fix It Clinic. Our last presenter is Tyler Douthit, who has been in his role with the Mattress Recycling Council for 5.5 years and graduated from San Diego State in 2010. In his free time, he enjoys playing golf, as well as spending time paddleboarding and kayaking. Please welcome Tyler, and for any questions for both Linda and Tyler, leave them in the chat, and we'll address them at our last Q&A session for the day. Welcome, Tyler.
Oh, thank you. Happy to do this presentation today. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how exactly trying to figure out the slide deal here on my end.
Tyler, I'll bring it up for you. Hang on one second.
Yeah, no worries.
Top of the screen, you should see some numbers. You'd be able to rotate it through the slides.
Okay, yeah, so let's see here. I see a 0, 1.
And then there's an arrow, so then when you click it, it'll go to the next one.
So yeah, my apologies. I'm trying to click it and it's not advancing to the next slide.
Okay, why don't you start and I'll drive it.
Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, you could go to the next slide. Okay, so I work for Mattress Recycling Council. We are an industry-led nonprofit. We are funded by the $10.50 fee. When somebody buys a mattress and or box spring, it ensures it'll be recycled at the end of its life. And our nonprofit was created by the bedding industry to make sure units get recycled. We operate a statewide recycling network in California. We are also in Rhode Island and Connecticut, with Oregon coming on board early 2024. So very excited to add another state into our program. We'll have a total of 4 states in 2024. We combat illegal dumping. We compensate entities for clearing units from public right-of-way. We conduct research. Markets always change. So we make sure we reach out to consultants that will find an end life for materials that are difficult to recycle. We do award funding. We fund sites up to $10,000 to help their mattress collection operation. And we have Cal Recycle. Part of that $10.50 fee, we send an annual report to Cal Recycle that needs to be approved. Yes, on an annual basis. So this $10.50 fee, it provides containers and trailers for collection sites and events. We handle all transportation and recycling for sites that decide to implement our program, and we also offset their labor costs by compensating them a per unit rate for units put in their trailers. As discussed, we have a legal dumping mattress collection incentive. education and outreach, our marketing team, I mean, they work really hard with making sure that people know where their nearest collection site is if they decide to drop their mat. We have our Sleep Product Sustainability Program, and yeah, we have Cal Recycle Enforcement. Our report just got approved last month from Cal Recycle, and yeah, that's great news for us. We want to make sure we are doing everything possible to make sure people have access to recycling drop-offs. So I'll give you a little oversight of our recycling operation in California. We have 10 recycling facilities, and we have more than 220 permanent collection sites. These permanent collection sites is where people have access to free drop-off. And we have this in all 58 counties in California. 95% of Californians live within a 15 miles of the collection network. And we have a retailer take back that we'll get into, but basically when a mattress is delivered to your location, they take back your old mattress and our box spring free of charge.
Hang on, I think we might have just lost Tyler. Was that, is he frozen on your side?
Yeah, he was frozen and now I can't see his screen, so maybe there's poor connection.
Okay, we'll give him half a second here. Tyler, why don't you drop off, come back on? There you go, back.
I'm sorry, did we cut out there?
We did cut out. Just go ahead and pick up right where you left off. You're doing good.
Okay, thank you. Do you recall exactly where I left off with the
You're on
slide?
slide number 5, County Riverside, service through 10 permanent collection sites.
Yeah, this is just an overview of the nearest collection locations for Riverside County, which is Palo Verde Disposal, which is in Blythe. It's Burtec Waste Industries in Coachella Valley, Edom Hill Transfer Station in Cathedral City, Dobbs TV and Appliance Warehouse in Blythe, Lamb Canyon, which is a Riverside County operated site, as well as Badlands Landfill, as well as CNR Paris Recycling and Transfer, Moreno Valley Waste Management Trace Transfer Station, Vertec, Aguamonte, Riverside, and NBC Mattress and Corona. So my efforts are spent constantly trying to expand collection sites in Riverside County. So yeah, please feel free. At the end of this slide, you'll see all my contact information. If you see a collection site that could be conducive to our program, I'd be happy to meet with us and try to implement our program. So as discussed, we have 10 recycling locations in California. All the materials in Riverside County, most of them will be going to mat recyclers, which they just moved their facility from Ontario to Rancho Cucamonga. And so layers are cut open and the units are separated manually and mechanically. a lot of the materials, such as the foam and toppers, are failed, and wood and a little bit of trash that is collected are put into roll off. So if you go to the next slide, I'll kind of break that down for you of where this material ends up. So the foam padding and the toppers, which are this flame retardant layer that was put into effect because a lot of people in the 60s and 70s would fall asleep smoking, so they need a flame retardant layer for that to combat that. So this material goes into the carpet refurbishing market, and commodity prices are consistent with the building market. So right now, not a lot of people are building, so all these materials for the carpet padding, the prices are relatively low now, but we are still able to recycle this product. So in addition, you have a little bit of cotton that's collected that goes into industrial filters and textiles. You have the steel that's collected, and there's always an easy outbound market for that. That goes into construction materials such as rebar, things of that nature. And then you have the wooden frames, which usually winds up in mulch yards. So we require our recyclers to recycle 75% of the material. The recyclers in my region are close to 80% with their recycling rate. So yeah, we do compensate for illegal dumping. Entities that clear units from public right away, they get a call, say, hey, this mattress is in the street. If they document that, we will compensate them up to $15. If they're a rural community, we compensate them, I believe, up to $18 at the moment. And that is just clearing it. They don't have to recycle it. However, part of my job is making sure that people that are clearing illegal dumping units from public right of way have the ability to drop off those units free of charge, or if they have a yard that will accept those free of charge, I try to get them into a contractual agreement. Our CVP program, this is primarily for large retailers like your mat firms of the world, hotels, universities, and hospitals that can accumulate up to 100 units and will show up with a 53-foot trailer. They have to provide labor to load it. We'll cover all costs associated with transportation and recycling. In Southern California right now, we get a ton of units from military, your Camp Pendletons of the world, things of that nature. And yeah, we cover all transportation and recycling costs for them, and it helps feed our recyclers in Southern California and helps keep our volume high. Research priorities, we're constantly working on increasing efficiency, investing in studies to identify best practices to make sure our program is successful going forward, improving recyclability. We award funding for infrastructure improvements that goes into our grant funding, which I'll get into later, as well as expanding in market, searching new uses for a component material. We have two problem child components right now. We have a component referred to as shoddy, which covers the box spring, which is a black belt layer, and there's just not a big end market for it. There's automobile manufacturers that use it kind of inside of the automobile to drown out the engine noise. There's that, but really there's just not a big market for it. And we also have our pocket coils, which is more prevalent with newer units entering our facility, which is the springs are covered by a polypropylene layer. And what we do is we get it shredded and we extract the metal from that, which is about 92%. And then we have 8%, which is the polypropylene, which ends up being discarded. But it's not conducive to a lot of shredding machines, and a lot of machines go down. So we're trying to combat that. And despite these two problem child components, I mean, our recyclers are still averaging over 75%. So this is grant funding. Yeah, we try to work with sites to make our program conducive to their operations. So, sometimes, especially in Northern California, like we'll have sites that say, hey, our mattresses are always wet. Say, hey, we have this grant funding to award an awning to keep these units dry. Or a site will say, we're trying to afford a forklift, but we're having trouble getting there. Like, hey, we'll put $10,000 for that forklift to make our operation worthwhile. Especially now, it's not going to cover the whole cost of a forklift, but I just awarded a grant, needed a ramp, and that awarded a ramp to go to their trailer. So, yeah, we're always investing to make sure we can make our operation conducive to facilities that want to implement our program. Oh, and you don't have to go back with the slide, but I do want to note that we also fund potential sites, but it's contingent on them joining our program for a year. If you have any sites in mind, part of that $10,000, they do have to join our program a year to get that funding. BuyMyMattress.com, we encourage sites, we encourage residents. They're like, hey, where is our nearest drop off? You can go to our site, enter your city, enter your zip code, and your nearest free drop off collections will populate. And some people will say, hey, we have a car, we don't have the ability to drop off a mattress. We also have sites on board that are in our bulky item program where they service a location and where they're bringing their mattresses back end up being put in a trailer and be recycled. So when somebody wants to put their mattress out for bulky, but they want to make sure it's recycled, they can go to our website. We have retailer program information. We have commercial volume program where we're having these CVP events, and we have state program information as well. So as of January 1st, 2021, futons are also part of our network. So you can drop off your futon and get it recycled. We did have an issue prior to January 1st, 2021, where retailers found a loophole in our program where if they were using third parties to drop off their mattresses, to deliver their mattresses or box springs, they weren't inclined to take back their old unit. So if this is something we didn't discuss or address with the previous bill, now if somebody uses a third party for online deliveries, they have to take back your mattress or box spring free of charge. If they don't, please let me know so I can address that. All right, this goes into our impact. Although the law was passed in 2015, started rolling out collection sites in 2016. So since then, 10 million mattresses have been recycled in California. If those were laid end to end, that would span from the North Pole to the South Pole. This equates to 380 million pounds of material diverted from landfills. And currently, we are capturing over 85% of discards diverted from landfills. And yeah, I'm constantly, my day-to-day work is to increase this number of captured discards. So if you have any sites in the area where you think could be beneficial to our program, this doesn't have to be solid waste facilities. This could be nonprofit. This could be buyback centers. Yeah, I'd be happy to meet with them and see if we could expand our coverage in Riverside County. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, thank you, Tyler. We do have a couple of questions coming in the chat right now, so we can begin our joint Q&A session. This question is for repeat reuse. Linda, are there skilled trades that you need for the repair workshops?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Oh, sorry. The question is for Linda. Are there skilled trades that you need for the repair workshops?
Nothing specifically. We'll take anybody who can repair something. You know, it just expands our offerings. And also when things like workshops to teach people how to do stuff, like how to sharpen tools. If that's something that you know how to do, we need to tell other people how to do that too.
And then along with that, what are different ways community members can volunteer or support your organization? I know you had it on your last slide, but if you could speak on that.
Yeah, we again, fixers or bringing in your items for repair. You're also helping to divert those items from landfill and keep them in use longer. We sharing on social media about us. I'm not so good on the social media. We haven't gotten too good on that, and so using other people's um, help with that is, you know, would be helpful. Donations as well to keep our repair fairs free to people, and then to get that mall going, we need donations. So thank you.
Yes, we'll make sure to spread the word about repeat reuse. This question is for Tyler. What challenges has Bye Bye Mattress encountered in implementing mattress recycling programs, and how have these challenges been addressed or overcome?
So yeah, there's some cities um, that when they negotiate their solid waste contracts, uh, part of the agreement is for them to allow quite an increased fee for them to drop off mattresses or box springs. And our program has to allow for free drop offs. So it's tough when I won't get into names, but there are, some franchise agreements which allow for $25 for them to drop off a mattress or box spring at their facility. And we can't necessarily fund them to counteract that cost. We can help with it. And I tried to allow for grant funding, like we'll, you know, support equipment up to $10,000 for your facility to make this worthwhile. But sometimes when cities don't do a great job with implementing a contract in their area, it makes it difficult to roll out programs because obviously, if a waste hauler is getting $25 to drop off, I mean, that's a big source of revenue for them. So that makes it difficult, but especially when it's at a landfill, I mean, I emphasize, I'm like, hey, in California, we're just running out of space. You're going to run out of space on your landfill. The average unit, mattress or box spring, weighs 55 pounds, and it accounts for 1.23 cubic yards of waste being in your landfill. And it's not friendly to your machinery either. The box springs and things of that nature, damage equipment. So I try to do my best to kind of emphasize what we can do with our program to mitigate some of the issues with mattresses or box springs being in your landfill. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all your work, Tyler, and keeping mattress recycling the forefront at our landfills and other facilities. I did share a link in the chat just about information on how we accept mattresses and box springs at some of our active landfills, such as Canyon and Badlands. So for Riverside County residents, we do accept a maximum of 5 per day. So that's just some useful information for our residents here on the call.
Yeah,
Uh,
Badlands, Lime Canyon, Riverside County has done a great job of implementing our program, and El Sobrante landfill, I'm working with them, hoping we can get the program going there early next year. Although it's owned by Riverside County, it's operated by Waste Management, so we've been in discussion. So fingers crossed, we'll get them on board soon.
Yes, hopefully. And then just to address some of the comments in the chat, can you explain a little bit more about the retailer pickup program. I think there were some comments about having them to be covered with like a plastic tarp or something. Are there any like financial assistance, or can you provide more information on that, kind of like the process?
Yeah, sure. So when you have a mattress delivered or box spring, they're required to take back your old mattress or box spring free of charge. Although they do have different requirements. Certain retailers may, you know, make you covered and flat. And unfortunately, we just don't have jurisdiction on that. I don't know what their requirements are. It could vary from retailer to retailer. The law just says that they have to take back your old mattress free of charge. So I'm sure different retailers have certain requirements. Also, when you go and purchase a mattress or box spring storefront, they're not necessarily required to go to your location and pick up your old mattress or box spring free of charge. However, like I work with sites to make sure that they have bulky assistance that will get delivered into one of our trailers and to have near drop-offs by you if you decide to purchase a unit storefront.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for clarifying that. Um, Once again, thank you for Linda and Tyler for speaking about kind of the nonprofit, sustainable organization side of things and how to keep things in the circular loop. We are a bit early for our closing remarks, but I think we can go ahead and get started. And I can introduce our supervising recycling specialist, Janet Moreland.
Thank you, Lizette. Just checking. I think you can all hear me now. Awesome. Okay. I just want to comment that we had such a nice variety of different presentations today, and the speakers with you can see their true love for their subject. So it's so great to be able to share that information, not only with those of us here at the conference, but as we hopefully get to put this on our website, then it'll be shared with other people that come across our website and be able to log on and hear the recording. It is great to hear that businesses and organizations are making the effort to build thoughtful, sustainable programs. It also started, it all started with a fresh look at their current waste practice and to see how they could make improvements for their organization and the community. What better reward than to be able to say, we found a better way to do the right thing. Sometimes the changes can be simple, some extensive, but I think the goal is to develop a sustainable solution to waste problems that we all may have. I hope our guests attending the summit will share this information with your friends and family and workmates as they start thinking about changes they can make to be less wasteful. There is always time for change, and making little changes can make a big impact. I'd like to invite you to visit our website, rcwaste.org, to see some of the programs or other classes that can help you and your recycling efforts to the next level. It may be our free classes like our backyard composting program that just turned 30 years old this year. We've got one of the longest backyard composting programs in the state of California that has consistently offered workshops, low-cost subsidized compost bins, and information and presentations for to support composting. Along with that, we've evolved that program to include vermicomposting, and the other classes we have are green landscaping, green cleaning, zero waste for your home, climate change, environmental justice, and our several other waste reduction themed classes. Our staff is also available for presentations as a guest speaker to groups, schools, and organizations throughout the county. We have an online request for a speaker on our website. Visit our online waste guide to find local resources for recycling and disposal. So if you think you have a unique item that you just can't figure out how to get rid of it, you can go look on our waste guide for specifics like mattresses and other things, and we'll be able to link you to some of the resources that are, and that website is available outside of our office hours, so it can be very helpful. Um, Check out some of our other programs like our Household Hazardous Waste Collection Program. Our new schedule should be going up there soon. We also have a drop and shop program. Those are good reusable products that we collect through the HHW program, and we make those available to residents as well as businesses that might want to go in and pick up some free, good, usable products. Community cleanups, graffiti abatement, and our illegal dumping cleanup programs. I want to thank our presenters for taking the time today to put their presentations together, as well as sharing their information with all of us today. Todd Shibata is our principal engineer here at Riverside County Department of Waste Resources. Joanna Ramos with the Inland Empire Waterkeeper Program. Joaquin Castanejos, Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. Agnes Wilbur, La Sierra High School. Hi, Agnes. Ellen Nguyen with the sustainability at the Associated Students of the University of California, Riverside, and the director of their Green Campus Action Plan. Linda Coskella with Repeat Reuse, and Linda's been a helpful outreach volunteer for our program for a number of years. Tyler Douthit with Bye Bye Mattress. Great information on mattress recycling. I know with illegal dumping, that's can be a problem, and great to know that program is implemented here in California. I just want to send a special thanks to our reliable outreach volunteers who help us share waste information with the public at our classes and community events. Today they did a lot of the behind scenes activity by monitoring the chat and adding supportive hyperlinks through the presentations. So thank you, Tanya Avalez and Betsy Kohler. Always appreciation to the recycling team who provides creative ways to share solid waste information in an attractive way and generously work weekends when needed. Mike Perez, he's our volunteer coordinator, and he was our webmaster and music maker behind the scenes. Sylvia Ferrer, Recycling Specialist 2, and Lizette Ochoa, Recycling Specialist 2, both of whom did the bulk of building and coordinating this program while they were promoting to the Recycling Specialist 2 position. So congratulations to you both on that. And we also had other recycling team support from George Podolsky and Kathleen Utter. And I also want to acknowledge our department for their ongoing support for the programs that we put together and allow us the time to create and coordinate engaging outreach designed to reduce waste and recycle more so we can extend the life of our landfills for future generations. Lastly, our audience visitors, thank you for taking the time from your Saturday to learn a little bit more about what's happening in Riverside County. And we hope that you're proud of the efforts we are all doing together to leave less behind for the future. Mike will be putting up a QR code for our customer service survey, and we hope that you can take a few minutes to leave some feedback about the program so we can improve our outreach. And now it is time I turn it back to Lizette to spin the wheel for 3 lucky attendees.
Yes, the time has come to spin the wheel. We'll only hold you for a few more moments now. We're going to select our 3 winners. All the names are collected from participants in the WebEx meeting, and I'll spin the first winner. Congratulations, Laura. I believe she still is in the chat. Is Laura still in the chat? Yes. So congratulations, Laura. We'll be emailing all of the winners through the email we provided. So keep a lookout out on your inbox. Next winner, Raina. Is Raina still with us? Yes. Congratulations. Finally, our last winner. Close call. Rose. And Rose is still on the chat. Congratulations, Rose. Once again, thank you to all of our amazing presenters and congrats to our winners. Keep an eye out in your inbox. We'll be contacting you soon. And thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.